Hi everyone, this is Dr. Young, your instructor in this class. The title of this course is Utopia and Dystopia in History, Literature, and Film. But maybe the more important thing to say about the course is this is a course in historical inquiry, and the stuff in this box at the top of the syllabus is really important, right? Let me just read it. All courses in the historical inquiry category demonstrate how the past informs the present, emphasize the importance of context when studying historical topics, and introduces students to the types of evidence scholars use to develop narratives and reach conclusions pertaining to historical examination, right? And so those are some of the things we're really aiming at in this class. We're trying to help you understand how to think historically, how to inquire historically, hopefully help you understand that history is not just a sequence of bits of trivia like names and dates and things like that, but it's really about studying human beings and their behavior and why they do the things that they do. And we need to understand things like context in order to make sense of all of that, right? That all people are products of the time and place they come from. And this is true for the theme of this course, right? Ideas about utopia and dystopia. We'll be reading some literature, which gives us some clues into those ideas. We'll be watching some films. We'll be researching some actual utopian movements. And so we'll be in the realm of thought, the conceptual realm for part of this, but we'll also be examining some real-life experiments with trying to create a perfected community. I'll have plenty to say about the stuff that's in the course description here. I would ask you to simply read through that. This course does examine and really force you to read some of the great works in the Western literary canon, and we will be in Western civilization here. There are works certainly that we could examine from other civilizations, but this is limited to stuff that was produced in what we think of now as Europe and its offshoots, the United States and such, right? The learning outcomes relate to what we said about, this description of historical inquiry. That is that we want to think about issues like causality and continuity and change over time and the impact of historical processes on the present. This may be the most important one, and there's going to be lots of information about this, especially in the first week. The importance of context. You have to know context in order to make sense of why people did the things they did in the past. And information about primary and secondary sources. This is the bread and butter of students of history. They have to examine sources that come from the past and interact with scholars who have written about those sources in some way, at least be aware of the interpretations of these things that exist and look for possible new interpretations. Now, as this is an online class and it's over a 6-week term in the summer, there's a lot that's going to come fast and furious here, okay? These are the books that you need to obtain for this. Essentially, you're going to be asked to read either 1 or 2 works of fiction per week, right? And in addition to that, do a little research into a utopian movement. And so I tried to space things out as well as I could. I certainly am providing guides in the form of brief video lectures on a lot of this stuff. But there really is no substitute for reading. I would encourage you, however, as you read, to probably read a plot summary or something like that of these works before you dive into the text itself. Some of these may be familiar. Some of you may have read Brave New World or Fahrenheit 451 or The Handmaid's Tale or something like that in high school. I don't know. Or maybe in another college class that you've taken. Some of these are quite brief. The Time Machine is something you can probably read in a couple of hours, if that. Some of them are a bit longer. 1984, pushes 250, 300 pages, something like that. But it's not a difficult read, but it will take some time. And so I encourage you to budget your time effectively. We will watch 3 films in the class, and I can help you try to access those, figure out the best place to watch them. It might be that you need to, get some of these on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, but if you have access to the Proctor Library or Canopy, you have access to Canopy, which is a film database that all Flagler students have access to. I think Metropolis is on there, and I believe maybe Triumph of the Will is on there too, but we can deal with that later. Important parts here, what your grade is based on. Every week of the course there will be a discussion board, and this will run for the entire week. Now, at some point in the week, and this is the due dates of these are gonna vary because the term has a couple of short weeks in it. The first week of the term is technically only 5 days, I think, or 6 days or something like that. Normally a week will run from Monday to Sunday, but the term starts on a Wednesday. Therefore, I have pushed the first week out to the following Tuesday, and I've created a couple of other shorter weeks. One in, I think the third week is a 6-day week, and the last week is a 5-day week, although I've allowed a couple of extra days for the final paper to be turned in. And so you need to look at the schedule, and I'll show you the schedule in a couple of minutes here, but you absolutely have to look at the schedule to see when each of these are due. Because one week it might be, these discussion posts, the first one might be due on a Friday, or even I think the first week is a Saturday, but then normally they're due on a Thursday, okay? And then the end of the week, you need to provide at least 3 responses to other students' discussions. And so there's an initial post of at least 250 words, as it says here, and then at least 3 responses. I encourage you to not just think about 3 responses, right? Really try to have conversations in the discussion board. This is the thing that tries to replicate class discussion, actual class discussion. And so I think it's important to, do your best to participate in that, even though this is somewhat contrived and artificial. There can be meaningful conversations that happen there. The main assignments are, first of all, 3 papers, 4 to 5 page papers. These are prompted. They have to do with the works of literature that we're reading. And so there will be prompts for those, and I'll cover those in fairly good detail, I think. They deal with the key components or the key questions that historians ask, things like change and continuity and causality and historical context, right? The first week there is what I call a research scavenger hunt. This is going to get you into some of the library sources that have to do with the study of history and just the library more generally. And that's provided. There's a whole set of instructions on how to do that that's linked on the Canvas page. And then finally, there's going to be a research presentation. This is a 12 to 15-minute presentation. You need to capture this with some kind of screen capture software. So, there are lots of these available. You can, even PowerPoint, I think, has a recording feature that you can use. I'm making this video on an iPad, and there's just a record button which captures the screen and the voiceover and all of that, right? So this is pretty easy these days. There are pieces of software out there that are free that you can use potentially as well, and I can guide you to some of that. So those are all of the assignments for the course. You can see the grading scale and stuff like that. I'm not going to go through this other stuff. I just want you to look closely and carefully here at the course schedule, right? Note the dates, okay? The first week runs from the 5th to the 10th of July. And that's an important thing to consider because all of the, assignments are going to be due within those days. You cannot let this course go for a week or two and hope to catch up. It simply won't work that way. The discussion boards have to be done in the week that they're assigned. So just be aware of these due dates. For every week, there's going to be a reading assignment, okay? The first week, there are some excerpts from a book called The Pursuit of History by John Tosh. It's just the first chapter of that book, and just a few pages from this book called The Information Literate Historian by Jenny Presnell. And so I will link those in PDF form on the Canvas page. There are a few video lectures. I try to keep these to 10 to 15 minutes. 1 or 2 of them might be slightly longer than that, but you're never going to see me give an hour-long video in this course or anything like that, okay? So rest assured, these are quite short. I would encourage you to budget your time at the beginning of the week to, watch at least a couple of these a day until you can, get through all of it. In addition to doing the reading, so that you're ready by the 3rd or 4th day of the week to make your first discussion board post. You'll see that discussion board post, there are the due dates for that, and the scavenger hunt is due the end of the week. And, you know, this follows the same pattern, right? There's a reading assignment. There are video lectures you need to watch. Again, all of these are fairly short, so even though there are 8 of them listed, you know, that's about 2 hours of your time total to watch all of those. And then, you know, discussion board and the first paper, the source analysis, is due at the end of that week, or actually it runs one day into the following week because this one's fairly substantive. There's a lot to read in the Republic. And so just look through this. The other thing I wanted to reference briefly was the Canvas page. So this is the professor's view of it, and you can see I haven't published it yet. As soon as I can get this recording loaded, I'm going to publish this. But, you know, this is what you land on with the home page. The really important page to go to is called Modules. So let me click on Modules, and you'll see. Now this Start Here stuff, all of this is stuff that's put up by the administration. This is all like policies and things like that, right? You can look through that stuff, but that's not really where you're going to start. You're going to start by looking at the syllabus. I'm going to post the link to this video that I'm making right now, right here. And then there are all of the videos for the week. Here's the discussion board. There's the library scavenger hunt. And I will post the Tosh and the Prisnell readings here as well. Week 2, you can see this is under construction. I've got a few things up there for week 2 and one thing for week 3 already. But all of this stuff will appear essentially in the same order in which you see it on the syllabus, right? The readings, the video lectures, the assignments, they're all going to be up there in roughly this order on those modules. So really this is the only page you need to visit, of course, unless you want to look at your grades and things like that. You can link to the discussions here. Right, so hopefully that gives you a sense of how to navigate this, okay? And you know, read closely and look at due dates and such. The discussions, there are a couple of other things here. If you have questions about the course itself, like about the structure of the course, the deadlines, or assignments or anything like that, I would ask you to post that on this discussion board called Course Logistics. Because, you know, I mean, you could email me about these things, but I would rather you post it publicly. So chances are if you have a question, other students are going to have the same question, right? So posting it publicly allows me to answer it for everyone. You need to choose a research presentation topic. Here are a bunch of utopian movements from various eras of history. I would encourage you just to look through these. You need to post to this board a ranked list of your top 3 choices by July 19th. So I'll have more to say about that further in the course. One last thing I did not mention, and this is including point, I hold an optional live session on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You know, if you're in another part of the country, another time zone, you're going to have to adjust, of course. This is entirely optional. Here is the link to the Zoom, and I will post that in an announcement as well, with, you know, so you'll be able to click on that probably and just go straight to Zoom. The purpose of this is really to talk through any course content you may have questions about, to give you a chance to engage with me face to face, or rather, you know, virtually, I suppose, but at least we're present together at the same time talking. You don't have to do this, but I would encourage you, if you can, to avail yourself of that opportunity, because I found that many students find this really helpful, to talk about assignments, to talk about some things that may be confusing in the sources. All right. So that's, I think, enough for this video. Again, if you have questions, please post to the Course Logistics board. If you have questions of a personal nature, please feel free to email me directly. My information is here. Okay, thanks.